To be you, I met him after rehearsal. Just a guy hanging around outside the theater, hands in his coat pockets, watching through the glass doors like he was waiting for someone. "Good performance," he said when I stepped out. "You're convincing." I thanked him, half expecting him to ask for money or directions. Instead, he asked something else. "Can I try being you?" I laughed, awkwardly. "What, like, in a scene?" He shook his head. "Not on stage, in life." I thought it was a prank, some student project or weird performance art. I played along, said, "Sure, why not?" He smiled. "Great, you won't regret it." I forgot about it the next day, until he posted on my feed. My old dusty Facebook account, one I hadn't touched in months, had a new update. A photo of my morning coffee mug. My kitchen. The caption, "Starting the day right." I didn't post that. Then came the message from my cousin. "Hey, great catching up yesterday. You seemed different, but in a good way." I hadn't seen her in over a year. I texted her. She insisted it was me. Same hoodie, same voice. Just off, somehow. More confident. At school, people treated me like I'd already spoken to them. My professor thanked me for turning in an assignment I hadn't finished. My director praised my monologue, one I hadn't even rehearsed yet. I started getting texts I didn't understand. People thanking me. People saying they finally understood me. A girl I'd been awkward around for months suddenly smiled and said, "I'm glad we finally talked things through." Only we hadn't. I checked my calendar. Appointments had been added. Calls were logged. Voice memos. My voice, but not my words. He was doing it. Living my life. And he was better at it. I confronted him outside the theater. Same spot. Same coat. He smiled. "You agreed," he said. "I didn't mean it." He shrugged, meaning slippery. "But look, I've improved things, haven't I?" I didn't answer. That night I got home to find my key didn't work. My roommate claimed I'd moved out days ago. My name was gone from the mailbox. I still had my phone, but notifications were drying up. Messages I sent got read but not answered. My classmates didn't recognize me anymore. One even asked if I was the new guy. I stopped existing. Or rather, he existed in my place. Weeks passed. I tried calling the theater. They said auditions were closed. I showed up anyway. They let me sit in the audience. The show was called To Be You, and the lead actor was me. Or at least someone wearing me like a costume. He hit every note, every gesture, every nervous tick I used to hate about myself, but refined, controlled, applauded. I stayed in the back, night after night, watching someone else live what used to be mine. And then one night, he changed the ending. My lines were gone. He looked straight into the audience and said, "There's always someone watching, waiting, wishing they were more real." People clapped. He looked at me and winked. Now, I clean the lobby after shows. I tell people I used to study acting. They nod politely and walk past. Sometimes I hear my voice behind the curtain, laughing, rehearsing, perfecting. They say all the world's a stage, but they never said someone else might get your part, forever. When they start clapping. The first time I noticed it was a Thursday night during a local production of The Tempest. Small theater, barely 100 seats. I'd gone alone, last-minute ticket, 5th row from the front. Everything was normal until the final act. Just as Prospero began his closing monologue, a group in the center section stood up. Maybe 6 or 7 of them. They clapped. Not softly, not hesitantly, but with this sharp, rhythmic precision. The thing is, the play wasn't over yet. Everyone else stayed seated. The actors on stage paused for a beat, clearly thrown off, but kept going. The applause continued for maybe 20 seconds, then stopped just as abruptly as it had started. The clappers sat back down like nothing had happened. At first, I figured it was just an overly enthusiastic drama club or something. Theater people can be weird. I shrugged it off. But then it happened again. The next week, different venue. This time, it was a community screening of an old black and white film. The kind where people show up in cardigans and debate cinematography during intermission. I was halfway through my popcorn when it started. That same group, same faces, same formation, stood up and applauded right in the middle of a quiet scene. No music cue, no credits rolling, just applause. Deliberate, rehearsed. I recognized them now, all of them. There was the man with the gray beard and narrow glasses, the woman with the thick braid and a floral scarf, a teenage boy with his hands folded behind his back before every clap, like he was waiting for a conductor's baton. Same expressions. Serene. Focused. I looked around. No one else seemed alarmed. After the show, I followed them. Just a few blocks. They walked in silence, then vanished into the subway station like fog. I didn't sleep well that night. Curiosity turned into obsession. I started going to more performances. Theater, film, even live poetry readings. I made a list of venues, marked dates. Every time I saw them, they did the same thing. Stand, clap, sit. Nothing changed, regardless of what was on stage. Sometimes they clapped at the beginning, sometimes in the middle, but always together. Always in sync. I tried taking photos, videos, but they never showed up clearly. Always blurred, faces turned away. Once, my phone froze completely until they left. One night, after a modern dance recital, I got brave, or stupid, and approached the man with the glasses. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "I've seen you at a few of these. You, really love live art, huh?" He looked at me like I was a misplaced object. Not hostile. Just misfiled. "You assume this is art," he said quietly. "You assume we are the audience? Aren't you?" He smiled faintly. "Without us, there is no stage." Then he walked away. That should have been the end. But I couldn't stop. I needed to understand. I stopped going to shows for a week. Stayed home. Thought some distance might help. But then the dream started. Rows of empty seats. A spotlight on me. Applause that came from nowhere. And behind the lights, those faces. Always watching. I told a friend. Just one. She laughed it off at first until I showed her my notebook. Dozens of entries. Times. Venues. Sketches of their formation. She flipped through it like it was a crime dossier. Then she pointed something out. "You wrote this date twice. Look. Same clapping group at 2 events, same night. 2 different locations. That's not possible, right?" I didn't have an answer. The more I investigated, the less sense it made. Someone online suggested performance art, a secret collective. But their theory fell apart when I found an article from 1978, Small Town Theater Review, local paper. A footnote mentioned an unusual burst of applause during the second act, with a description that matched them exactly. Same man, same woman, same boy. I stopped reading after that. 2 nights ago, I was performing. A small part in a 1-act play. Nothing major. I hadn't seen them for weeks, but the moment I stepped on stage, I felt it. That weight. Like I was being examined. And sure enough, during a silent beat in the dialogue, they stood. Clapped. Everyone else looked confused. A couple chuckled. But me? I froze. Because in that moment, I understood. They weren't applauding the performance. They were confirming something. After the curtain call, I stayed in the dressing room until the place emptied out. When I finally came outside, one of them was waiting. The woman with the braid. She didn't speak at first, just watched me. Then she said, "You did well." I swallowed. "Who are you people?" She tilted her head. "We are the reason you exist." "What does that mean?" She stepped closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You think you're real because you perform, but we watch. Therefore, you are." And then she walked into the dark. Last night, I dreamed again. This time, I was on stage alone. No script, no lights, just applause. I think it was meant to be reassuring, but it felt like a warning. The babysitter's window. I was just trying to make some extra money. College isn't cheap, and babysitting felt safer than bartending or selling handmade earrings online. So, when my psych professor's sister asked if I could watch her kid for a night, $80 cash, quiet suburb, kid already asleep. I said yes before she finished the sentence. The house was nice. A little too quiet, maybe. But nothing I hadn't seen before in the countless other homes I'd babysat in. The boy Max was 5. He was already asleep when I got there, tucked in tight, like someone had wrapped him with military precision. The mom, Julia I think, gave me the tour, showed me the snacks, the remote, the Wi-Fi. Everything felt normal. At first. The living room was small but cozy. Dim floor lamp, a TV that took forever to load streaming apps, and thick, heavy curtains over a single window facing the backyard. I only noticed it because I heard something. Not a knock, not even a sound exactly. Just pressure, like something shifted in the air near the window. You know that feeling when you think someone's behind you but no one's there? Yeah, that. I turned around. The curtain was still drawn shut, the fabric barely moving like it caught a whisper of wind. Which was weird, because the window wasn't open. I shrugged it off, kept watching TV, kept pretending I wasn't checking the curtain every 5 minutes. An hour passed. Then I saw it. Just a flash, so fast I almost didn't catch it. But something moved behind the curtain. A shape, a shadow. I muted the TV, held my breath, waited. Nothing. No footsteps, no knock, no sound at all. So, like any rational adult, I tiptoed over and yanked the curtain back. There was a window, all right, a wide one. Just glass and darkness, and a dim reflection of me blinking stupidly into the glass. No one outside, no animals, no wind. But the feeling stayed. That tight, invisible pressure. The knowing. Someone was watching. I closed the curtain again, this time pulling it tighter, tried tying the edges together with a hair tie. It didn't help. The feeling didn't go away. I texted my roommate. Something casual, like, "Hey, you ever feel like you're being watched while babysitting?" She sent back the emoji with big eyes and said, "You okay?" I didn't reply. About 20 minutes later, I swear I heard breathing. Not mine, not Max's. Heavy. Slow. Wet. I froze. The sound was faint, muffled, like it came from inside the wall. Or maybe the window? I stood up and crept toward the curtain again. I don't even know why. Curiosity? Stupidity. I didn't pull it back this time, just leaned in, close enough to hear better. It stopped, but I saw it, a sliver of pale skin, just barely visible in the tiny gap where this curtain didn't quite meet the wall. An eye, looking back at me, wide, unblinking, too close. I stumbled back so hard I knocked over the floor lamp. The room went dark. I scrambled for my phone, turned on the flashlight, and when I pointed it at the window, nothing. The curtain swayed gently, but no face, no eye, just my own reflection, shaky and pale. I turned on every light in the house. When Julia came home around midnight, I tried to sound casual. Hey, by the way, there was, some weird stuff with the window tonight. She looked confused. What window? The one in the living room? The big one, facing the backyard? She stared at me for a long second, then shook her head slowly. There's no window in the living room. I laughed. No, seriously. That big one with the heavy curtains? She frowned. You mean the painting? On the back wall? We both walked into the room, and she was right. There was no curtain, no glass, no rod. Just a wall. Plain, smooth, painted over. No seam, no frame. No indication anything had ever been there. It was concrete. I stood there blinking, trying to make my brain work. But I saw it. She looked genuinely concerned. Are you okay? Maybe you fell asleep? I didn't argue, took the cash, walked home, didn't sleep. The next day, I got an email. No subject, no sender, just an attached photo. It was blurry, grainy, like it came from an old phone. It showed a window. The window. My face was on the other side, looking out. Same hoodie, same hair, same terrified eyes. Caption below it, "We see you now."